The Will You Grow Show goes live Sundays 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern. To receive notifications, click the subscribe button beneath this video, or visit YouTube's Will You Grow channel to see more shows and videos. And now, here's Will You founder Angelique Medow with this week's Will You Grow Show.
Welcome to the Will You Grow Show. How are you? I'm Angelique, and I'm here to ignite your inner courage to release yourself from limitations. I'm the founder of Will You and WillYouGrow.com, an inspirational multimedia company that provides personal growth and joy through education, conversations, and adventures like the one we're having today. We're obviously not in the studio. We are here on location in Tennessee. Aren't these colors fabulous? We're going to be showing you some colors throughout today's show where you can just take in all those beautiful autumn colors from wherever you're located. Not every place in the world has fall colors, so I want to share some of these here with you today. I wanted to come to you today to talk with you in our series of shows about journaling, about inclusivity. This is the fourth show of 15 shows about personal growth through journaling. We've had shows about several different topics. If you've missed some of them, please feel free to go back and check into the Will You Grow channel so that you can see all the different shows and get yourself caught up on other topics that may apply to you. Now, the topic of inclusivity is a very hot topic right now. And it's hot for what I'd consider to be challenging reasons. Often inclusivity is brought up in regards to people being excluded from a conversation, laws, any kind of ethical rights and things like that. And although this is true, that inclusivity means we need to bring all the folks together to be able to include everyone, today's topic of inclusivity, because we're talking about journaling, is about inclusivity of all of ourself. Now that might sound like, oh, of course I include myself in my own conversation. But the reality is I work with a lot of people, and most people don't include parts of themselves in their own topics of conversation. For example, I was working with someone last week who she includes some of her feelings, but hasn't really tapped into what her thoughts are on things. She also does not include intuition in her process. She's not aware of all of her senses either, so she can't include them in her process of decision making. So today's show is about how to include all of ourselves and why that's important when we make wise decisions. Inclusivity is really about being aware, for we can't include something or someone when we're not aware of the value of it. Although we can look outside of us and see the truth of this when we look at our culture, when we look at including folks or topics that have high dollar value but not including those that don't, or vice versa. Inclusivity is a very tricky topic to get into. But it's so important that I wanted to bring it to you today. Most people do not include their whole self in their decision-making process, and they don't include their whole self in their awareness, which are pretty much one and the same. When we're not aware, we can't include it. So how does that affect us, and why is it important? Well, I'll use a topic from my own life so that you can maybe see that there might be something that applies to your life as an example in mine. I come from an old school family, and I've also dated not a lot, but I mean enough of the folks that I've dated have been of what I'd consider old school thought process. And old school thought process is a lot of the positivity movement, which means that anything that is real, but not what they've judged as positive, should not be included in decision making or even topics of discussion. So much so that if I bring up a thought or a feeling or even a story that is from the past that isn't a glowing recommendation of the individual in their opinion, that then they feel that I don't love them. This is not the case. This is not the case at all. To try to take it into simple terms, if you look at me on this camera and you deem that brunettes are the most beautiful of all of the colors of hair, and I do not have brunette hair, in inclusivity, you would include the fact that I do not have brunette hair, even though, in your opinion, brunettes are the most attractive. And it wouldn't be insulting to either of us, because it's just your perception of the way things are. I'm a blonde, so so it is. Well, when it comes to feelings, if I express that I have a need for something, or even a preference about a dinner, a meal, an opinion, any kind of preference about how I might like to plan my day, that has been judged as being opinionated and forceful about what I want, just because I have a preference. And how I know that this was judged and my preferences weren't included was because I made several suggestions about an entire 2-week process, and all of them were excluded in the decision-making process of the other person. And when I brought this up and said that I felt that the trust factor wasn't there because my preferences aren't included, it doesn't just mean, oh, I want chocolate ice cream over strawberry. It means things like my work is an important part of my decision-making process. And so how I plan my day is inclusive of my work process. The other person wasn't even interested in why I had preferences or why I was including my preferences. They just didn't really want me to have preferences. They wanted me to put their preferences first. So I laugh just because of, you got to find humor in it. And it's all okay. But this is the way it is right now. So when we talk about our preferences, they are and they should be included in what it is that we make our choices to do. But if we've grown up in a family that does not want blonde females to have preferences, then we might not feel that our preferences are actually valuable. As a matter of fact, we might not even know what our preferences are. And a good portion of my life, I didn't know what they were, but I was very highly aware of everybody else's preferences, because if I did not fulfill the preferences of family members, they became upset and that affected me. And so I had a tendency to offer and overgive too much and give away any of my awareness and needs and preferences because of that. Now, me just talking about these topics would probably be upsetting to them, because for them, they feel that this isn't putting them in what they consider to be a glowing light. I don't have any judgment over their choice to not include my preferences. So there's nothing but glowing, honest observation on my part of where their soul is in their development, and the fact that I happen to be aware of what my preferences are now, and I'm willing to speak for them. This awareness does cause some friction amongst me and my family members, but I wouldn't give it up. I wouldn't give it up. A lot of folks do. They give up their thoughts, their feelings, their preferences, their needs, so that they can keep other people in their world. Many of us, I know I had to go through this process, have to let people go. And what I mean by go is, if someone is constantly excluding us and our preferences, then it's challenging to be around them because we're not included. Just our physical presence is needed for them to feel secure. It's a big difference. To be with that person, I have to exclude a large portion of myself. As a matter of fact, the part I like the most, which is intuition and my depth, my feelings, my needs, all these types of things. So I wouldn't give it up. But all of us have a point in our life where we get to choose. Am I going to keep this person and lose and continue to abandon myself? Or am I going to walk forward, accepting and including all of this one, all of me, and just see what happens? I've made this choice many times, and I will say that I do not regret it, not even for a minute. That does not mean that it does not come with sadness that other people aren't interested in all of me. It does. And you know what? I'm including that in what we're talking about today. I'm including all of the experience of who I am in my day-to-day process. And that allows me to make decisions to care for myself. So how does this relate to journaling? Well, for example, this is my journal. This is one of the journals that I created, one of 11 styles. They're all hardcover, and they have cream paper with charcoal lines on the inside. It's all recycled paper, and it feels really great. It's very cozy. It's a matte finish, and you feel like you're cozying up to some silk sheets when you hold on to these journals. Well, when you journal, you'll often come up to resistance to journaling because there's part of you that you're not including in your own process, and to write it down would mean that you'd have to admit that you've been denying that part a reality in your life experience. I give you an example. One of my clients, when we talked about journaling, she said, "I only have to write about the good stuff, right?" Journaling is not a diary. Journaling is not just about a small portion of you that you share with the world and put on Facebook that has pretty pictures and goes on trips. Journaling is about getting to know the reality, the honest truth about this one, and recognizing that this one is worth something. All of this one. Whether she's blonde or blue-eyed, or whether she's Asian, or whether she is any other kind of beautiful color of the rainbow, like all the leaves on the trees. It's about being inclusive of this one. And as within, so without. If we can't include all of ourself in our own vision, if we can't see that we have feelings that are hurt and that we need to take care of them, how in the world are we going to care for other people? We're not. Just like the people that I mentioned earlier. They have hurt feelings too, but they're not even willing to admit that they're there. So they can't care for them, and when I attempt to, it feels like an attack because it is looking at and caring for part of them that they don't want to admit exists. So journaling is essential. Whether you choose to write it down or not is up to you. But the process I'm talking about can be done whether you write it down or whether you actually just allow yourself to be aware on the inside of everything that's happening within you. All your senses, your intuition, your experiences, your perspective on the experiences, all of it. Now, the reason I recommend journaling is because it gives you distance. You can write something down and then look at it. You can see something with a little bit of space between you and your thoughts and see if, you know what? Maybe I'm just going off here on an emotional ride and I'm not really grounded in this situation. Just by reading part of your journal and saying, you know what, I feel like and I think that I need some grounding. And then you can go outside in nature and do some grounding techniques. Just writing it down validates your experience, meaning it's okay to have the feelings that you're having. And it better be, because that's what you're experiencing. And you don't want to deny or criticize or blame yourself for experiencing what you experience. Just be open and curious to learn more about it. Because I'm telling you, when you get inside of all of this, there will be places that frighten you, but it's okay when you actually walk through the fear that you're experiencing, as I did. You find out there's nothing to be afraid of, and there's a whole lot of love and support available to you and me and everyone by including all of ourselves, because guess what? Inside of this one is the same life force that makes everything. And you've probably heard that 1,000 times, but that doesn't make it less important or viable. The life force, the source, the creator, the God, whatever you want to call it, but whatever makes this heart beat and these lungs breathe and these eyes open and close, our food digest, the power that makes that happen is inside of you. And because it is, that means that if you're willing to look, observe, include all of you in your experience and be aware of it, you're going to find out what that is. What more could you want? Really? Like, are you going to watch TV instead? Is that more interesting? I laugh and I say that with love because I know a lot of people do. But you know what? It's there and it's available for each of us if we choose. So as everybody knows who's been watching this show for a while, as we do these journaling shows, we take some time to actually journal on camera here during the show, and you could stop if you need more time. We take just a minute or so to write some things and see what we discover, and then we share them on camera. So I'll share mine with you, and then you can see if you might learn something from that. What I'm going to do today, since I'm pretty aware of what I think and feel, I'm going to ask the deeper question, because this is a question any of us can always ask ourselves. Once we've been thinking and feeling for a while and we're aware of what we're aware of, but there's often more, is we can ask, what else? What else? What is important for me that I need to know? What else? What is important for me that I need to know? So I'm going to take a few minutes to write about that, and I hope you do too in this bonus round, and I'll come back and share what it is that I learned. Okay, y'all. Congratulations if you joined us for the bonus round. Congratulations. Congratulations for being willing to look within and include parts of yourself that you may never have before. I love the fact that we have the depth that we do. I love that. I think it's fantastic, because even from all the knowing that I brought to this show today and wanted to share with you, I got to learn something else today in my writing that I'm really honored and proud and happy about. I didn't write a lot, but what I wrote was really meaningful. Not because when I say I wrote it, I let the pen move, but honestly, I was listening. So when I asked the question, what else do I need to know? I know how to be without my thought. So my mind was blank. My feelings were blank. I just listened. Now, I don't recommend that we do this without awareness and including all those other parts of us, but I would say that this part of just dropping thought and feeling happens after we've been aware of all those other levels. This is where we can just receive guidance, receive intuitive information, which is neither coming from the mind or the heart, the feelings, the body, soma. And this is what I received. The first message was, nothing is more serene than the peace that comes by being true to ourselves. Nothing is more serene than the peace that comes by being true to ourselves. Now think, if I'd have given up being inclusive of my preferences, needs, thoughts, feelings, I would have been excluding myself, and I wouldn't have been at peace, even though I'd have been with those family members. Wouldn't have been at peace. So it's a good thing for me to remember. The second thing that I received was, truth is inclusivity. I mean, that ought to be pretty obvious, right? Just because, some leaves are orange and we don't want to admit that they're orange doesn't mean that that's true to talk about all the green leaves and everything but the orange. The truth is inclusivity. Those orange leaves are beautiful. They're all beautiful when we're not judging them. So truth is inclusivity. And the third thing that I received was, be continually willing to die to untruth. And that is my choice. I chose to do that recently. And it's a reminder and an encouragement for me and for anyone who is walking the path of spiritual soul growth. As we see a cute little bird. Yes, a red cardinal, which is a beautiful symbol. If you don't know about metaphysical meanings of animals, look that up. It's pretty special. So again, to be continually willing to die to untruth is the choice that those of us who are on the spiritual soul growth path choose to walk. It's not always easy, but it's better. It's better in the long run, because we've got to live with this one. And our character is all we have, really. The rest of this fades. Hair color changes, eye changes, skin changes. It all changes, and I'm going to include it all in the process. So thank you for joining me today on a series of shows about personal growth through journaling. This was the fourth in our series of 15 shows, and today's show was about inclusivity. I'm encouraging you today and every day to include all of yourself, and first become aware of what that is. Take your time to journal. I highly recommend it. There will be nothing that'll be more soothing, validating, encouraging, and inspiring for you than to look within and to discover the whole of who you are. And then share it with all of us. I'm looking forward to learning more about it. I hope you join me on tour. There'll be more information on upcoming tour dates coming up here after this. And I thank you so much for joining me on today's show. And I'm going to send you off today with all these inclusive, beautiful colors, and always with love, from Angelique.
The key to healing and transformation is to know thyself. One of the best ways to enhance self-awareness is to take pen to paper. Will You, the company that creates tools for inspiration and joy, introduces 11 styles of hardcover journals. These gorgeous 200-page hardcover journals contain light charcoal lines on cream paper, beckoning you to unbridle your mind and write. Knowing your purchase supports environmental charities. Available at willyougrow.com and amazon.com. If you wish you had notes for today's show topic, your wish is granted. You can receive free weekly articles emailed to you every Sunday that match the show topic. And you'll have free anytime access to all prior articles, shows, adventure videos, affirmations, personal success stories, and the latest happenings at Will You. Here's what to do. Just click Show More in the description box. Then click the link for your free weekly inspirational article. Type in your email address, hit enter, and you're set. You'll start getting free weekly articles in your inbox every Sunday, and you'll have free anytime access to hundreds of inspirational ideas and support from Will You. Get your free show notes by clicking free weekly articles in the description box. Join Angelique and the Will You Grow team on tour. Be inspired and empowered by a live workshop during beautiful Beaufort, South Carolina's Pat Conroy Literary Festival and a nature tour of Angelique's favorite place on earth, Hunting Island, South Carolina. Adventure with us Friday morning, October 28th in beautiful Beaufort, South Carolina for a writer's workshop presented by Angelique to invite more peace, passion, and joy into your life. This workshop is in partnership with the Pat Conroy Literary Center and its festival, celebrating Pat Conroy, a leading figure of late 20th century Southern literature. Join Angelique and a myriad of authors, celebrities, writers, and New York Times bestsellers as they present workshops to educate and inspire you on your life journey. While in South Carolina, adventure with us on Sunday, October 30th for an immersive nature experience as Angelique leads you to deepen your connection with nature and experience walking the sandy trails of the tropical forest with loblolly pines, deer, herons, and great horned owls. Enjoy all these great adventures and come travel with us on tour. Click the link to Adventure Tours in the description box and book your tickets now to see us there. For more information about programs offered by Will You, mentoring with Angelique, and to watch video success stories from clients, explore willyougrow.com. If you or your company are interested in inspiring our mutual audience by sponsoring this or another of our programs, let's talk about it. Boost viewer confidence and trust in your company. Call 1-833-WILL-YOU, then press extension number 6. Make sure to click the subscribe button to get reminders before upcoming shows.